Welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the current situation in China. You obviously would have heard of the COVID cases, a bit late now. I should have made this video a couple of weeks ago. However, the situation at the moment, Shanghai is still locked down, a few other areas are also locked down, although it's getting much better. Let me just start by saying, talking about the legislation and the laws in China, as they operate on a zero COVID policy, they are extremely strict. This goes for anyone leaving the country or actually going in the country. And actually, that's the main reason why I'm still here in the UK and have been for some time. So China doesn't allow anyone to leave the country or enter the country unless it's for diplomatic reasons, humanitarian, or any other very important issues, be that death in the family. Even that is extremely difficult. So you can't simply just book a ticket and go there or leave the country for a holiday. It just doesn't work that way. And the same translates to day-to-day life. Once, I don't know the exact rule they have over there, but when it comes to cases of COVID, if it exceeds a certain amount, or if the cases are climbing rapidly, then they would first shut down or close villages, towns, and even cities if it gets out of hand. And they do, the majority of this is all tracked, it's all done via tracing, predominantly with WeChat, the WeChat app on everyone's phone. So it's quite effective, although it has obvious problems occur with this, with personal life, businesses, and as you fellow e-commerce store owners and dropshippers, and even brick and mortar store owners, or those who are just doing bulk wholesale and freight shipments, you're all affected. So up until I think it initially started around the beginning of this month, when it really started kicking off. But I'm happy to say that it is under control, and it looks as though the majority of cities are kind of back to normal and operating as normal. Although you will get delays here and there with certain suppliers, depending on the location now. But what we'll do, we'll have a quick switch over to my screen, computer, and I'll go through the COVID cases in the cities. You can have a look at the map, and I'll give you a quick overview of the cities and provinces affected, and then we'll carry on. Okay, looking at the map of China, you can see, compared to the rest of the world, it's not bad at all, but due to their policy, they lock down like crazy. So the most cases, as you can see from these bubbles, is Shanghai, and it's not set in stone, but apparently they're looking to fully open up on the 1st of June. Henan, so we're here. This is our main warehouse, which also has quite a few cases in comparison to the rest of China. Not as much as Shanghai, but not far off. This it's not, as of right now, the 23rd of May. It wasn't as bad as last week, where it's affecting orders and parcels coming in and going out. So looking at the locations that have a lot of traffic, so there's Zhejiang, which is of course the province of Shanghai is located in. You have Fujian, which is mainly textiles, clothing, etc. Guangdong, you got obviously Shenzhen, where one of the largest ports. Sichuan, Chengdu, that's not really relative for e-commerce and dropshippers. So the main locations are Zhejiang, Fujian, and Guangdong. Shenzhen, Hong Kong, etc. The rest you don't really need to, although you will have suppliers and manufacturers scattered all over China. These are the main hubs along the coastline, and what you need to concentrate on. So if all of a sudden the cases increase a great deal in any of these, and there's a lockdown again in any of these locations, that's when there's going to be it's going to affect eCom and just getting goods sent out in general, even bulk shipments. But fingers crossed, it's looking good. China's got a hold of it, and it shouldn't be that much longer now before the whole of China is back to normal, and there's no more lockdowns. There will always be lockdowns across the country, towns, villages, etc. But in terms of whole city lockdowns, that only comes into effect once. I don't know what the legislation is and the actual quota and stuff, but there's obviously a certain amount of numbers of cases that need to occur before China make the decision. The government makes the decision of completely locking down the city. So yeah, fingers crossed, should be good to go, and hopefully 1st of June you shouldn't expect any more delays in your shipments, whether that's dispatch of products from your supplier, or transit time from the supplier to our warehouse, or us dispatching it and getting it out of China. So that's it. Hopefully I can give you a better update, a positive update in the next week or two. Right, so what does that mean for you as a dropshipper or e-commerce store owner, shipping orders directly from China to your clients, your customers internationally? Well, you've probably experienced the worst thus far, and I can't expect it to get, unless of course there's an increase, again, rapid increase of cases in either the currently affected provinces or other provinces, then it's unlikely there's going to be a very big impact on your orders going out. The majority, the main cause for delays was for suppliers, wholesalers, manufacturers, logistics companies having to close down. When you look at Shanghai or even Shenzhen, when they had to completely shut down, you weren't allowed out of your premises, you couldn't go to work, well, not you, China, they couldn't go to work, it was impossible for anything to happen, production stopped, travel stopped, and inevitably that would have negatively impacted you, especially if you had an agent or fulfillment company operating in those areas. You would be completely screwed. We were quite lucky when it first kicked off. Zhengzhou wasn't affected. We were operating as normal. The only issues we did have were when we were sourcing from certain suppliers. So if we were sourcing from Shenzhen or Shanghai, if those particular suppliers were in areas which were locked down, we then had to either find alternative suppliers in different provinces or areas, and if we couldn't, then we're pretty stuck. We had to exhaust every possible avenue, and if we couldn't, there was no other option but for our customers to wait until they were open back up. But luckily it didn't last too long, and they had inventory left over in our warehouse. But that's where the majority of the delay occurred, from the supply chain side, the companies and suppliers being able to actually work and send out shipments. The other aspect was the delivery side. So if the supplier was actually open and they could send goods normally, there could have been delay en route to our warehouse. So it could have had the normal route of travel would have been to a particular city or via a particular city, but if that area was locked down, it would have to divert, and in some cases it would actually be delivered to that city and held there until the lockdown was the city was operating as normal. Once it opened fully back up, the parcels will then be released and forwarded to our warehouse. And in some instances, it would get all the way to Zhengzhou, the main hub, and then from there, the same thing would happen. So even if it was a few miles away, it would be stuck in the hub for it to until it was deemed safe for onward travel and finally to be delivered to our warehouse. Finally, there would be the leaving China. So, you know, us picking, packing, dispatching, sending it to Express or whoever it is. There's obviously the transit from our warehouse to the shipping carrier, and then again from there leaving China. So that's where all of the delays would have occurred, where they would have occurred. And in saying that, as mentioned, most of it's behind us now. So until the next wave, if you want to call it that, I don't think you've got much to worry about. And even when there is the next wave, I don't expect it to be as big as this time. Although of course there's no guarantee, but I don't expect it to be as big this time, and the impact is going to be relatively less. At least that's what I anticipate. So yeah, I mean, you can rest assured, or rather not rest assured, kind of ease your mind and get back into it. If you were kind of on the edge, on your seat, and deciding whether or not to run campaigns or start any testing new products, it's quite safe to say you can crack on. So on other news, there is Dragon Boat Festival, which is on the 3rd of June until the 5th of June. So if you are, whoever you're using or working with, whether you have your own fulfillment company or AliExpress or whoever it is, just be aware that even if they haven't mentioned this to you, then it's likely that they won't be responding during this period. Just double check with them, make sure. I mean, it's not as an important holiday as, say, Chinese New Year, and it's not as lengthy, but even still, there is going to be some downtime either from suppliers or your fulfillment company. So if they haven't mentioned this to you already, please bear that in mind. We're also going to be off during that period, so from the 3rd until the 5th. Our last working day is on the 2nd of June, and we return on the 6th. And yes, I mean, that's all for today. Just wanted to give you an update on the COVID situation and the impact it has on e-commerce and dropshippers sending from China. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I'm going to be releasing some more videos. There's also some new Express shipping lines and some other useful information that I will be including in my next video. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope it was useful, and take care.